Siam Station is approximately 130 kilometres west-northwest of Port Augusta in South Australia, and once you get to I-Knob it's all dirt road. It was April 2019 when we did this trip, and it was heartbreaking to see the country suffering under such heavy drought conditions when you compare it to what it was like in 2007. None of the dams had any water in them at all, and clay tank here, very dry, and now we're looking at it back in 2007 when it was full with green paddocks. Driving into the Siam Station Homestead, and as we come through the creek there's very little foliage on the trees, and this is what it was like back in 2007. And here's a bit of a comparison looking from the hill down across the homestead when it was nice and green, once again 2007. And as we pan around the homestead grounds here, you can see how dry in the distance things are. Very neat and tidy though. Got the main workshop there on the bottom left hand corner as we come up towards the manager's house. At the overseer's house there at the top of the screen, with the working men's quarters there in the centre of the screen. In the mid-60s this was a primary school house, this building that we're looking at now, and it's where a lot of us started our primary school. I actually did my first 5 years of primary school there before we left the station. Neighbouring station would send their children down to school each day, and the teacher, there was only one teacher in the entire school obviously, he would actually board at one of the stations and bring a lot of the kids down from that direction. We're now at what we call the house dam. This is the dam that supplies the homestead with its water when there's surface water available. We saw more feral goats on this trip than I've seen in my lifetime. It was incredible the number of goats that were around the place, and here we are with the house dam back in 2007. Crushing shed and yards here at the homestead. I'm not sure whether they still use this as a crushing shed or not. The shed and some of the yards are in a little bit of disrepair, so unknown in regard to that. Government dam, just a dust bowl. As a kid I could never remember this one being empty like this, and once again 2007, everything's green and full. As we were heading out to Tin Hut, the road was dry, the paddocks were dry, and there was just dust everywhere. Tin Hut, underground water supply. There's never been a dam out at this location. For our first night's camp, it was just short of the 2 mile dam near the wool shed, and certainly treated to a nice sunset. Now at the 2 mile dam just short of the wool shed, and extensive network of pipelines and whatnot to supply stock with water here. We're now looking at the wool shed, and if you look at the new shed to the left, that's been built since we were there. Much bigger than the original one, which is the building in the centre there, a little bit lower, and to the far right of the centre building, the old wool shed, there's a storage cum workshop there. Back in 2007 with just the old wool shed and the green grass of home, I guess. Where my car is there to the right, that's where they built the new shed. And of course come shearing time, these yards would be full of sheep. In the top left hand corner of the screen you can see the shearers' quarters and kitchen area. Little generator there just on the bottom left hand corner of the screen now. So many changes happened up there since we left, and you can see the roof here of the building Some of it's off, some of it's still on, and it makes you wonder why. Perhaps asbestos, not quite sure on that one. And here we are with the new shearers' quarters and kitchen area. Inside the shearing shed at the shearing stands and the shed internal sheep yards. Interior of the shearers' quarters look quite nice. Young Skippy knew where to get a drink. From the shearing shed we were making our way at the brush hole, which is where we're going to spend our second night. Yet another dry dam. The brush hole crutching yards on the northern end of the station. Brush hole dam, but unfortunately, like the remainder of the dams that we've been looking at, not one drop of water. For our second night on the trip, we found a suitable sandy patch under a tree a couple of kilometres from Brush Hole Dam. Our vehicle was certainly showing signs of the dust. Nothing like a barbecue in the bush. 2 nights out camping and 2 great sunsets. Bacon legs for brekkie, and then it was time to go. As we're heading back towards the homestead, it was time for one quick final look at the woolshed as we went past. Siam Station holds so many memories for us. Mum and Dad raising a young family up there until we were in grade 5 at school and whatnot, and then they moved away from the station for education purposes for us kids, and then once we were old enough that education was no longer an issue, they moved back there, so I continued to work there once again. My only brothers worked many years on the station. They even spent a time as a manager up there. One of my brother-in-laws has spent a bit of time up there working, and then there's another brother-in-law and myself. We've spent time up there during shearing periods. Now entering the Homestead area as we make our way back to Knob and Port Augusta, heading for home. Feral goats everywhere. And it's goodbye to Siam Station for this trip.
If you like the video that you just watched, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button, and once you've done that, tap on the bell and change the notification to all. That way every time we do uploads to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified.